It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Washington Nationals. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Here at Dodger Stadium, it is the Washington Nationals who have beaten the Dodgers twice, and the Dodgers who also won twice. Last year, Washington won this series 4-2, the 2 Dodger victories by Clayton Kershaw. This year so far, the Dodgers are 2-2 with Washington, both victories, Kershaw and Greinke. On the mound for Washington tonight, Joe Ross. He's the younger brother of Tyson Ross of San Diego. He has a record of 3-3 and very impressive 47 strikeouts and only 4 walks. But talk about impressive, then you get to Zach Greinke. He's 11-2. He is 1-0 against Washington. He is 4-1 lifetime against them. His earned run average is 1.7, and he beat Washington 5-0 with 11 strikeouts and 1 walk. The Dodgers, of course, need innings. The last 3 games, the starting pitchers combined turned in 14 innings, and then they went to the bullpen and knew what happened there. For Greinke, he's pitching on 4 days rest. What that means normally, his record is 6 wins, 1 loss, and an earned run average of 0.9. And one other note, in his 12 games pitching here at Dodger Stadium, he's allowed 14 runs. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more right after this. You may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium as the Dodgers and the Washington Nationals go after each other for the 5th time this year and game 2 of the 3-game series here. They've each won 2, and tonight it's Zach Greinke going against Joe Ross. For the Nationals, a good ball club, a hard-hitting ball club, a first ball hitting club. So Matt Williams, who was a monster with the bat when he played for the Giants and later on with Arizona, and he has a very, very aggressive offensive club. Instead of going through the lineup, we'll just talk a little bit about Yuniel Escobar. And if you are a pitcher, if you are Zach Greinke, you know, number one, he has had 36 base hits on the first pitch. He will swing at the first pitch 45% of the time. So he was the keynote speaker, since we're getting into the political world. He's the keynote speaker for Washington, and he'll be followed by Anthony Rendon, the second baseman, followed by Ryan Zimmerman, who's red hot. Zimmerman has 8 RBIs in his last week's work, and of course he had a good night last night. Zach Greinke, who has just been absolutely brilliant, has not lost a game in his last 9 starts over that stretch, 6-0. The last time Zach lost a game was in San Diego, and that would be the 13th of June. And the last time he lost here at Dodger Stadium was the 7th of June against St. Louis. So a first ball hitter and one of the smartest pitchers in the game, Zach Greinke, I'm sure well aware of it, and we'll see how we started out. The kid from Havana, well put together, 6'2", 215 pounds, 33 years old in November. Yuniel Escobar. And here's the first pitch. Sure enough, he's after it. 0-1 the count. Escobar made the daring escape from Cuba in October of 2004 with 5 other ball players and a good 30 people on the little boat. A bunt attempt is apparently laid off. 1 ball, 1 strike. No call of a strike. Washington a game and a half behind the Mets. When they play the Giants, they swept the Giants last time they met, so the Dodgers, when they leave here, will certainly wish them well. 1-1 pitch. 2-1 the count. Pretty good fastball at 94. Escobar hitting .309, 7 home runs, 34 runs batted in. And a little flare into shallow right, moving over, waiting as Puig to make the play. So 1 away, the troublesome Escobar is retired. We'll take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. Gonzalez, Hernandez, Rollins, Callaspo, Ethier, Peterson, and Puig. Grandal handling Greinke. So 1 away on a little fly ball to right field. And the batter, Anthony Rendon, hitting .266 with a home run and 7 runs batted in. Rendon last night had 1 hit and a walk, and he was robbed of an extra base hit on a great play by Jock Peterson. So we have 1 away, 0-1 the count to Rendon. Pretty good fastball at 94, a little high. Rendon would not chase the bait. 1-1. And that's sliced to right. Puig has it, puts it away, and we have 2 down. Now normally the number 3 hitter in the lineup for Washington is Bryce Harper, but instead tonight Ryan Zimmerman hitting 3rd. And the big reason, we can show it later, Harper hurt his knee last night. So here is Zimmerman, who's really been on a tear. Zimmerman has had an extra base hit in 5 straight games and has driven in a run in 8 straight games. A little high. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 down. First inning, no score. One and 2. Greinke at home, 12 starts, 5 wins, 1 loss, an earned run average of 1.5. High with those fastballs, well out of the zone. Zimmerman, a Gold Glove third baseman, playing first base. Escobar, who was a dazzling shortstop, plays third. Fastball tapped to the Kike Hernandez. All right. So a couple of fly balls and a ground ball. Greinke makes fast work of the top of the first. Young Joe Ross getting ready to go to work, and at the end of half an inning, no score. And take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup now for the bottom half, and it features a red-hot Jimmy Rollins leading off, followed by Alberto Callaspo at third, Adrian Gonzalez at first. Andre Ethier's in left field, Yasmani Grandal the catcher, then you have Yasiel Puig in right field batting sixth, Jock Peterson in center, followed by Kike Hernandez and Zach Greinke. Jimmy Rollins has really turned the season around as he checks in to face Joe Ross. Interesting story about Joe Ross, the younger brother of Tyson Ross. Tyson and the Padres were in Cincinnati, and Washington was in Chicago. And Joe was going to make his debut. First pitch, foul back. Anyway, Tyson pitched the night before, and then his skipper, Bud Black, gave him permission to go to Chicago to see the kid brother break into the big leagues. That was June the 6th, and he did pretty well as Rollins skies one back a third down the line. Desmond, the shortstop, coming over to put it away. So 1 down. In that game, Joe Ross went 5 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 earned runs, but pitched very well. They were impressed with him. He lost the game, but his big brother was there to console him and welcome him to the big leagues. Now the batter is Alberto Callaspo, hitting .237 with a home run, 15 runs batted in. Escobar plays in on the grass. Infield swung towards first base. Callaspo, the switch hitter, hitting in the 260s left-handed, 230s right-handed. Hitting back of him, Adrian Gonzalez. 1-1. Joe Ross stays around the plate. He's a very good control pitcher. Fastball sliced down the left field line, out of play. Joe Ross has 47 strikeouts and 4 walks. He is very tough to run on. His brother is very easy. Tyson Ross is all elbows and kneecaps, and the league really takes advantage of him, but not against Joe Ross. In fact, several things that Joe does so well, his brother struggles with. Another high pop fly that's going to go foul, and it'll be the third baseman Escobar. So 2 out, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez against Zimmerman, Rendon, Desmond, and Escobar, Worth, Taylor, and Robinson, and Ramos behind the plate. 2 big pop flies, and now here's Adrian. Gonzalez in the last 2 games 5 for 9 and 7 for 11 with 2 home runs against the Nationals. And ball 1. Remember, the Dodgers right after the All-Star game played the Nationals in Washington, and that's when Adrian went 7 for 11. And a drive to center and deep. Taylor going back to the track at the wall to make the catch. About 392 feet away. And down go the Dodgers on 2 pop flies and a long fly ball. And at the end of an inning, no score. Right fielder is Clint Robinson, and the reason was an accident last night. Bryce Harper in trying to make a diving catch on a ball hit by Peraza, and he hurt the left knee. Today it was stiff and sore, so Bryce Harper sits down. Clint Robinson is up there, and the count 0-1. Clint was with the Dodgers last year. He had 9 at-bats, and he went 3 for 9, and he's doing very well this year with Washington. Gives you a good strike zone. He's 6'5". He was certainly not encouraged to be a pro as he lines one to left field for a base hit. The Kansas City Royals signed him for all of $1,000. That was his bonus. And it's taken him a while, but he has settled in now and doing very well, and good luck to him. Clint from Jefferson City, Missouri, makes his home in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So Robinson, line drive single to left, the only left-hand hitter in the lineup, and the batter is Jason Worth. The New York Mets put a little heat on Washington They beat the Rockies 4-0. Matt Harvey won his 11th. And the Mets are dynamite at home. The Mets are 39-18 at home. Dodgers are 37-19. So pressure on Washington to match the Mets with a win. Check swing foul, bouncing right over the head of the on-deck hitter, Ian Desmond. Desmond, red hot last night, had 2 home runs. He also had a base hit, and that went right over his helmeted covered head. 0-2. Houston and the Giants, they're in the first inning, no score. Giants got home after a bad road trip. They lost 7 out of 10. Scott Kazmir and Madison Bumgarner. So Worth stays alive, gets a little bit of it. Robinson at first. No score, second inning. Jason Worth, another former Dodger and a solid one with a great baseball background. His grandfather, Dick Schofield, his uncle, Dick Schofield Jr., his father, his stepfather, was a former Yankee and A's catcher, and his sister is a great athlete. He pokes one to the hole. Nice pick there by Hernandez for one, but that's all. So Jason Worth hits into the force play, 4-6. And with one out, a hungry Ian Desmond coming up.
Shortstop, number 20, Ian Desmond.
So a nice play started by Kike Hernandez. Ian Desmond hitless in 13 at-bats going up against Greinke. However, he's been a hot hitter of late. The last 5 games hitting .421 and the 2 home runs last night. And a strike. Desmond checking to see if there might be a play on the works. 14 home runs, 40 runs batted in. Worth, who runs well at first, 0-1 to count. 0-2. Ian Desmond surrounded by some gold gloves and good players, and he certainly fulfills that. He kind of describes himself as a grinder. 0-2. He's from Sarasota, Florida, originally drafted by the Expos. Line drive that explodes just in front of the first base coach, Tony Tarasco. Still 0-2. In the dirt, gets away from Grandal, kicks way over to the left for Greinke, and we'll assume that's a wild pitch. If it is, it will be his 7th wild pitch of the year. He just gestured, hit himself in the chest as if say, my fault. That thing got Grandal on the left arm after it came up out of the dirt. So 7 wild pitches. That puts Worth at second base. And Desmond trying to pick him up. Ian Desmond committed an error in the 9th inning last night that led to Crawford's 3-run home run. It was Desmond's first error in the last 22 games. He started the year in 21 errors and has really settled down. Ground ball deep to the rim. Rollins, a long throw, too late. So Desmond looking for his first hit and gets it tonight against Greinke. He's 1 for 14 against Zach. Shows you how important the wild pitch is. On that chopper, Rollins is deep, but he could get a man at second base. He just could not get the man at first. So it seems like a wild pitch always gives you more trouble, and sure enough, up popped the devil. So Rollins had the only play taken away. He's got a great arm, but just could not get Desmond. Here's Wilson Ramos. Interesting, the Washington catchers in last night's ball game, Lobaton was the catcher for Gio Gonzalez, because Gonzalez pitches very well with Lobaton as his catcher. Gonzalez went 8 innings. Lobaton right on the same page with him all the way. Well, with the next 2 pitchers tonight, Ross, and tomorrow Zimmerman, it's Wilson Ramos. They pitch better with him. 0-1 the count. And Kershaw will be on the mound tomorrow night against Jordan Zimmerman. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Wilson Ramos has caught 2 no-hitters in his career. Young fella from Valencia in Venezuela. 1 ball, 1 strike. Little roller foul. It was back in November of 2011, and Ramos was kidnapped in Venezuela. 4 armed men went to his home about 95 miles west of Caracas. They took him away in an SUV. Meanwhile, he had been home with his father and brothers when they entered the house and just took him away. They found the SUV the next day, and late in November, Venezuela police rescued Ramos via an air operation in a mountainous zone of Venezuela. They arrested the 3 men. 2-2. Venezuela, of course, with so much poverty, and then you get a big league player, and they know, for instance, that Ramos is being paid $3.5 million this year, and the bad guys are going out looking for him. Ramos originally drafted by the Minnesota Twins. 2-2. And a good pitch down and in, and down goes Ramos for the 2nd out. So except for the wild pitch, I think they would have had at least the force play. That would have been the 3rd out. Though we'll see now. Greinke talking to the left side of the infield, especially Rollins. And Michael Taylor, the young center fielder, the rookie coming up. He had a big night last night. He had 3 hits, hitting .243. 2 on, 2 out, 2nd inning, no score. Taylor from Fort Lauderdale, another tall fella, 6'4". They drafted him out of high school. Made his debut last year, hit a 2-run home run to give Washington a big lead, and they went on to win the game easily. When he got back into the clubhouse, they were saying there were 2 balls in the locker, one for his first base hit and the other the home run ball. 1-0 the count. That's a strike. So Zach Greinke gave up the base hit, the infield single, the wild pitch set up for the run, but he hasn't allowed it yet. And Michael Taylor, the rookie, is hitting .377 with runners in scoring position. 1-1. Check, but it's going to cost a strike. 1-2. With runners in scoring position and 2 out, that's the tough one. He's still hitting .341. Greinke with a record of 11-2. 4-1 in his career against Washington. Jason Worth at second, Ian Desmond at first. That just seemed to sail. Fastball with late run to it at 95. Greinke does a good job of controlling the running job. Percentage of success against him only 55%. And he's picked off 19 runners. Meanwhile, Joe Ross waiting on deck. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, second inning, and there's ball 3. The Greinke talking to himself as Gio Gonzalez did last night. Runners ready to go, and they have pretty good speed out there with Worth and Desmond. Desmond has stolen 9. Worth has not been running because he'd been on the DL. 3-2, 2 down. Naturally, he wants to get Taylor and the inning, and then the pitcher will lead off the next inning. So Joe is waiting. 3-2 to Michael Moore. Runners go. Line drive and a diving catch by Callaspo. Alberto Callaspo making the diving catch, saving a possible run. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. The end of an inning and a half. No score. Pitches a perfect game. Well, Thursday, the first 40,000 fans in attendance will receive a Sandy Koufax bobblehead presented by United Healthcare. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Andre Ethier, Yasmani Grandal, and Yasiel Puig against young Joe Ross. Ethier in the last 8 games hitting .367, so he's lifted his average home runs to 12, RBIs to 37. Ball 1. Couple of baseball notes out of a scout's book about Joe Ross, especially with Ethier wearing out the Nationals, hitting .385. That's just off the plate. 2-0. His ERA with Wilson Ramos is 2.8. His earned run average against teams above 500 is 3.1. And he is very, very tough, especially early in the game. Missed again. First 25 pitches, the opposition hitting .146. For hitters making their first plate appearance, .150. That's in there. First 3 innings. His earned run average is 2, and the league is hitting 178. And between 76 and 100, the average against him is 200. 3-2. So a full count to Ethier, no score. Bottom of the 2nd inning. Game 2 of the 3-game series. Yasmani Grandal on deck. Tomorrow night, Jordan Zimmerman and Clayton Kershaw, and there's ball 4. So for Tyson Ross, that's kind of a kick in the ribs. He had only walked 4 while striking out 47. He missed on a couple of very good pitches away, just off the corner, twice against Ethier. So here's Grandal hitting .289. On base percentage .395. He also has 15 home runs, 44 ribbies, and of course does the power part of his game left-handed. Which brings up another point about Joe Ross. He has allowed 4 home runs. One ball and no strikes. And that jumped in there. 1-1. Grandal taking a look at Lorenzo Bundy. Ethier, an onlooker at first. Tyson Ross is averaging about 6.5 innings a start. Young Joe's 1-1 pitch. High and in. 2-1 the count. Throwing that fastball up, he gets more fly balls than ground balls, and you can get away with it here. So it had to be a challenge for him to make his major league debut at Wrigley Field. Change up way off the plate. He threw 2 good change ups to Ethier. They just missed. That was a bad one. So he went 3-2. Now he goes 3-1 to Grandal. And waiting on deck, Yasmani at the plate and Yasiel Puig on deck. Fastball is low. For Tyson Ross struggling, it's an off night for him to walk back-to-back hitters anytime. Desmond, the captain on that infield, he's the veteran, comes in to give him a little bit of pep talk. And here's Puig. Puig's average now is dipped to .241, 8 home runs, 29 runs batted in. Last night, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. 2 on, nobody out. 2nd inning, no score. That's a strike. Little slider. 0-1. Puig down to the number 6 spot. Jock Peterson hitting behind him. 0-1. That fastball makes the mitt pop. 6'4", 205-pounder. Only 22 years old, born and still lives in Oakland. And like his brother, a number 1 pick by the Padres. One and 2. Good slider. Joe's the first one to credit his brother for helping him to step up to his game. Joe was at Bishop O'Dowd High School, committed to a baseball scholarship at UCLA. He got a bonus of about $2.75 million not to go to UCLA and instead pitch for Washington. And a fly ball to center, very playable. Taylor is there, runners hold. I just couldn't help thinking about Joe Ross and Clint Robinson in right field. Joe Ross signed a deal, a bonus, $2.75 million. Clint Robinson signed a deal for $1,000. And he'll run through the wall for Joe Ross. So it goes, life in the big leagues. So Puig, a little fly ball. Here's Jock Peterson. Ethier at second, Grandal at first. And a strike, 0-1. Everybody points out the fact that young Jock does three things basically: walk, strike out, and hit home runs. Joe Resnick of AP did a lot of work going back through all the games with Jock Peterson. And if I remember what he said, the last 7 games in which Peterson has done all of it, struck out, walked, and hit a home run, the Dodgers have lost. And that's happened, I think, 10 times. He would be 3-7, and another strike, 0-2. Meanwhile, Don Mattingly, Mark McGwire trying as best they can to help him. Seeing him go after a ball hit over his head last night and make the catch. It was a ball hit by Rendon. You can see why they're staying with Jock. He is marvelous defensively. What was that time? No balls, 2 strikes. The hitter always gets the time call. All right, no balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 1 out. No score, second inning. And a high pop foul. Wilson Ramos makes the play. So Peterson pops it up, and the batter now, Kike Hernandez.
Second baseman, number 14, Kike Hernandez.
Every time I see a high foul ball, especially last night and again tonight, you know the Washington Memorial, the monument? It was erected in December of 1884. And the Washington Monument's about, if I understand, 555 feet. And there is an observation platform, I think, about 504 feet up. Ball 1. Well, when they put it up and the young baseball players were arriving, as the story goes, there was a busboy who kept talking to the players about, could you catch a ball dropped off the Washington Monument? Well, being ball players, professionals, they said, well, I think so. Well, Cap Anson of the Chicago then White Stockings felt that his catcher, Pop Schreiber, could catch anything. And Clark Griffith, eventually an owner of Washington, they said, okay, Clark, we want you to drop the ball. Ball 2. So Griffith, after a practice drop to see how the ball was coming down, Schreiber caught one on the very first attempt, 504 feet. Well, then it got to be a big deal about just how high can you drop a ball from and have it caught. That's going to go foul. August the 21st, 1908. Press Gibson, a Washington newspaper man, went to the top of the monument with 13 balls. And his catcher, Gabby Street, finally caught one after the others were dropped. 2-2 the count. And a little roller to short. Desmond quickly a flip to second. That's that. We will also tell you about the time that Wilbert Robinson, who eventually became the manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, he was going to catch a ball dropped out of an airplane. More about that at the end of 2, no score. Stadium, you'd really have a story. No score, top of the third. But thinking about the Dodgers and spring training, Wilbert Robinson, the catcher, they were in Daytona Beach in about 1920, and they had been talking about those dropped balls from the Washington Monument. So Robinson said he'd like to try to catch one. And he was, okay, we'll get an airplane, and we're going to get one of the most prominent women flyers. Her name was Ruth Law, and she took the airplane up over 400 feet. Now, she said later that she forgot to bring a baseball with her. It's hard to believe. But what she did drop from the airplane, since she didn't have a baseball, was a grapefruit from 400 feet, and there is Wilbert Robinson waiting to catch a grapefruit from over 400 feet. Strike one pitch on the corner. Anyway, when it exploded, which it did, Robinson's first thought was he was bleeding to death. He was covered with fluid, and he didn't know what the heck it was. And then, of course, they explained about how the lady forgot the ball, and his reaction was perfect. He said, no, I know who set this up. Casey Stengel. So, it got to be a big deal about trying to catch fly balls from 400 or 500 feet. Down goes Ross. In 1938, Cleveland Indians third baseman Ken Keltner. That name ring a bell? It was Ken Keltner at third who made a couple of dazzling stops to break Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. Anyway, Keltner tried to catch a ball dropped from the Cleveland Terminal Tower. Now, that's at least 675 feet. There's another version that says it was 700 feet. And the catcher, Hank Health, supposedly caught the ball. So then you move on another year later, 1939, and this is really too much. Chopper that's going to find its way into left field for a base hit, and Escobar is aboard. Well, we'll finish it off by saying on August 3rd, 1939, former Indian catcher Joe Sprins tried to catch a ball on San Francisco's Treasure Island. It was dropped from a blimp, believe it or not, somewhere between 800 and 1,000 feet. And so they say on the 5th attempt, he caught the ball and broke his jaw. The power of the ball hitting the mitt driven into his face, and that's the end of dropping fly balls. So one away, Escobar at first base. Anthony Rendon flied to right field. That's another thing they don't do anymore, and it used to be great. They'd come to the ballpark early, and as a kid I sure did. And you would see the infield taking infield. You would see the outfield throwing to the bases. And always at the end of it, the coach with the fungo bat would hit a ball as high up and straight up as he could hit. The catcher who's going to start the game would catch it, and they'd go off the field. It was good theater, and it was great to watch. High fly ball to center. Peterson may be struggling, can't find it, and now does. Yeah, he was having a lot of trouble. The lights just turned that sky almost purple, and he finally picked it off in time.
Number 11, Ryan Zimmerman.
There he is, and finally picked it off at the last minute. A lot more than just going out there and catching the ball. So 2 out, Escobar at first, and big Ryan Zimmerman with that stretch. 8 RBIs in 8 games. And a strike, 0-1. No score, top of the 3rd. Ground ball to the hole. Rollins was shading to his left and never had a chance. So Zimmerman rolls one into left field, and the batter now will be the one left-hand hitter in the lineup, Clint Robinson. You can see Rollins a late start, but he was too far to go back and get it anyway. So 4 hits for Washington, no runs. They had 2 hits in the second, 2 more here in the third. Bryce Harper would love to play, but he can't with the bad knee. We'll see if he's able to play. You hope he'll be able to play against Clayton Kershaw. High fly ball to left field. It's playable. Ethier is there. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. At the end of 2.5 innings, no score. behind the scenes as Clayton Kershaw hosts his annual Ping Pong for Purpose charity event. Plus, Kike Hernandez gets mic'd up. Don't miss Backstage Dodgers Thursday, 5:30 p.m. on Sportsnet LA. Zach Greinke coming up. Greinke, remember, had a 3-for-3 game back on August the 7th in Pittsburgh. Of course, when you look in the records, you'll always find something better than ball one. In 1964, Mel Stottlemyre, who certainly became a great name with the Yankees, but he was pitching for Washington, he shut out Claude Osteen and the Senators 7-0. Stottlemyre went 5 for 5 in that game. That ties 7 others, including Schoolboy Rowe, for the pitcher hitting record. There have been a lot of 4-hit games by pitchers, as Max Scherzer looked on. Carl Erskine, Burley Grimes, Kirby Higbee, Clarence Mitchell, Don Newcomb, Claude Osteen, Dazzy Vance, and Big Chris Van Kuyk the night the Dodgers scored 15 runs in the first inning against Cincinnati. He went 4 for 4. Dodgers won that game 19-1. So 3 for 3 is good, 4 for 4 is better, and 5 for 5 is out of this world. Little pop fly. It's the second baseman, Rendon. One away.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins coming up. The Astros and the Giants are in the third inning. Bumgarner has struck out 7 in a row. Then Jose Altuve had a base hit. No score, third inning. Dodgers leading the Giants by 2.5. Dodgers trying to snap a 4-game losing streak for the first time this year. Jimmy Rollins popped up in the first inning. Badly fooled on that pitch. Rollins hitting .317 for a little more than 2 weeks. Both shortstops have really turned things around. Ian Desmond hitting .420 for the last week. 0-2. Ball one. Big foul ball coming back. Ramos makes the catch. I always wondered, I finally looked it up. You know the expression about Washington, first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. And that was written by a sports writer by the name of Charles Dryden. And it was written in 1909. So, I mean, they had their struggles for a long, long time. So now you know, and me too. Charles Dryden. On the corner, 0-1. Callaspo popped up in the first inning. Callaspo made a big play. That saved Greinke. The line drive hit by Michael Taylor. And Alberto diving to his left just did catch it. Big play. 1-2. The outfield playing pretty shallow. Worth in left. Taylor in center. Deep a little bit in right is Clint Robinson. Callaspo has 1 home run. 0 as a Dodger. 1-2. Soft line drive just over the leaping Escobar. So a 2-out single will bring up Adrian Gonzalez.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Escobar will go up the ladder, and he'll be a step or two shy. So that's the first hit given up by Joe Ross. Greinke's already surrendered 4 hits, but no runs. Adrian fly deep to center in the first inning. And ball 1. Michael Moore caught the ball on the track, a couple of feet from the center field wall. Adrian, 22 home runs. 68 runs batted in. Way out in front. Very good off-speed pitch. Good motion. For Washington, early in June when Joe Ross made his debut, it was the 6th Nationals pitcher to make his major league debut this year. Fastball, but low. No score, bottom of the third. 2 out, 2-1 count. Adrian going to take a little walk after chasing after that pitch. Waiting on deck, Andre Ethier. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, no score, bottom of the third. Giants are scoreless in the third. Rendon about 2 or 3 feet out on the grass. Still 2-2. A lot of off-speed pitches now. Still 2-2. Young Joe, when he was in the minor leagues, one of the things in AAA Syracuse, the fact that he showed so much poise and maturity, rarely seen in rookie pitchers. And ball 3. Last year and now this year in the big leagues, Joe Ross was throwing his slider 36% of the time and his changeup 10%. Now he goes all the way, so if you're a hitter, you're looking fastball 3-2. It wasn't a fastball, it was a slider. So no runs, 1 hit, 1 left. And at the end of 3, no score. Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. And by Flex Alert. This summer, the power is in your hands. FlexAlert.org. Fourth inning, no score. Worth, Desmond, and Ramos in that order. Greinke gave up 2 hits in the second inning, 2 hits in the third, but so far so good. Jason Worth hit into a force play in the second inning. Ball 1. You know, Greinke started a game in Philadelphia, you may remember, and he allowed 5 runs before recording an out, and he still got a win. Dodgers won that game 10-8. He went 6 innings and gave up 6 runs. Foul ball. The last time a major league pitcher for any team who won a game despite allowing 5 runs before getting an out was a Dodger, a Brooklyn Dodger by the name of Ralph Branca. He did it in Pittsburgh, not Philadelphia. He allowed all 10 runs, went the distance. Dodgers beat the Pirates 17-10. Gil Hodges hit 2 home runs, and so did Ralph Kiner. June 25, 1949. So from Brooklyn and Ralph Branca to Los Angeles and Zach Greinke. 2-1 to Worth. In there. Boy, that was an awfully tough pitch to take. It looked like a perfect strike all the way. He had to be looking something else. 2-2. Ground ball, but Caspo was playing off the line. 1 away.
Number 20, Ian Desmond.
Ian Desmond, who was 0 for 13 against Greinke, single to the hole at short in the second inning. Oh, and 1. No balls and 1 strike to Ian Desmond. 1-1. Ian played his first major league game September of 2009, had a double and an RBI during his second at bat. Fouled away, and later in the same game he hit his first home run, and then he had the town talking, and he followed that up with a 4-for-4 game. Became only the second player ever to record 6 hits and 4 RBIs in his first 2 games as a major leaguer. 2009. 2-2 the count. Ian will be 30 in September. So he is 1 for 15 against Greinke. Third strikeout for Zach.
Number 40, Wilson Ramos.
Wilson Ramos struck out in the second inning. We mentioned earlier Ramos has caught 2 no-hitters. He caught Jordan Zimmerman's no-hitter in 2014 and then accomplished a feat most catchers never will do He caught the no-hitter for Max Scherzer. One ball and one strike. Two and one. Tomorrow night, Clayton, Kershaw, and Jordan Zimmerman. Two and two. No score, fourth inning. Kershaw talking to Brandon McCarthy. McCarthy in uniform, doing the best he can. Fastball fouled away. Two down, bases empty. When the Dodgers come up, they'll have Ethier, Grandal, and Puig. So Greinke goes all the way, 3-2 to Ramos. Michael Taylor on deck. Taylor was robbed of a base hit. A diving catch by Callaspo prevented Washington from scoring a run. 3-2. Ball four. So for Greinke, he's given up 4 hits. He has struck out 3, and he now gives up a walk. So here's Michael Taylor. When Taylor came up and lined out for the year, the opponents are 5 for 40 with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position against Greinke. 5 for 40, that'll be a 125 batting average. Here's the play that has kept the game scoreless. Moore is gonna. Michael hits it. Callaspo makes a catch, and that's that. Nice play by Alberto for sure. Big chopper, Rollins, the quick way. So he gets Taylor. That means Ross will lead off the 5th inning, and we're heading to the bottom of the 4th. No score. The game, 2015 Dodger Stadium movie series. It's the final one. We'll be celebrating Back to the Future's 30th anniversary. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. For the Dodgers, coming up in the bottom of the fourth against Joe Ross, who's been very impressive. We expected him to be. Everyone with Washington told us. And sure enough, fine young man doing a fine job. He's allowed one hit, single by Callaspo, and he was off his game in the second inning. Here's a man who had walked only 4 this year, and he walked back-to-back hitters, but kept the Dodgers from capitalizing. Andre Ethier walked, leading off the second inning. Off-speed pitch. Threw a lot of change-ups when he got into trouble in the second inning. A couple of them were dandies just off the plate. Foul ball. The plate umpire is C.B. Buckner. C.B.'s been umpiring in the big leagues for 17 years. He's from Jamaica in the West Indies. And hit in the air to center, one step in, then on his horse, the ball over his head, bouncing away. Ethier into second, on his way to third. He is out at third. And it was the plate umpire, C.B. Buckner, who went down the line to make the play. Actually, what complicated the matter, the fact that Michael Taylor made one step in, and that's all you have to do on a hard hit ball. And now Tim Wallach says make the umpires check an official review. Sinking fastball hit better than Taylor realized, and then the ball bounced away from him. Ethier on his way for third. Good throw, and here's the play. Ball's there ahead of him. The tag on the knee, and the out is called. Take another look. And it looks there like the foot is on the bag. One thing about Escobar, he was not about to crowd the plate or third base in this instance. The door was wide open, and I think that's what gives the Dodgers a triple. It was a good one-hop throw from Michael Taylor, and a more aggressive tag by Escobar, and Ethier would have been out. Though I would assume from looking at it from several angles that Don Mattingly will win the review, and the Dodgers will get a triple. Take another look as the foot, see the string of the glove sticking out? I mean, like an antenna. I don't even know if Buckner could have seen that. The throw was there ahead of him. When the throw's ahead of you, you've got to be out. So you immediately make the third baseman a little suspect. It was a fine throw, although originally misplayed by Taylor. Take that one step in, and it went over his head. Naturally, Escobar is not about to hang tough and get into the machinery of spikes on the runner's feet. But nevertheless, sitting up here, calm, quiet, and so easy. Safe. Yeah. That to me was a bad play by Escobar. I'll tell you one third baseman who would have made that tag. That's the man. Matt Williams. He had 4 Gold Gloves. Matt was just as aggressive with the glove as he was with the bat. And I'm sure he feels disappointed that Escobar would not go down and get him. All right, that means the infield has to play up. There's no score in the game, and Grandal will start it all. 0-1. Grandal walked in the second inning. Ethier short lead down the line. And another strike. 0-2. Well, we always do it. You see a runner at third. The first thought is a wild pitch. And Joe Ross has one wild pitch. Max Scherzer has 6. A fly ball to shallow left center. Worth is going to catch it and let Taylor make the play. Taylor with the stronger arm, I believe. So 1 out, Ethier nowhere to go. So now Yasiel Puig. Puig now right on the 240 line. And on deck, Jock Peterson. No runs, 4 hits for Washington. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. The infield is in. Ball 1. And a long drive. It looked like a high slider. Goodbye, high slider. So Yasiel hits it out, his 9th home run of the year, gives him 2 RBIs to make it 31, and the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead. For Ross, the 5th home run that he's allowed. So he got some outs with that slider. He struck out Gonzalez on a slider, but this one was up, and Puig was looking for it. So 2-0 Dodgers, 1 out, and Jock Peterson. Ball 1. Foul back. As the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead, the Giants score a run. Brandon Belt hit one to center field for a home run against Scott Kazmaier. And you know, Belt's a left-handed batter. Scotty is one of the tough left-handers. So the Giants lead 1-0 in the 4th. Dodgers lead 2-0 in the 4th. 2-1 the count. Check swing on a high fastball. No swing, says Dale Scott. Three and 1. And ball 4. Three walks given up. Steve McCatty going out to talk to young Joe Ross. There's a certain Oakland connection there, of course. McCaddy, the pitching coach for Washington, spent a lot of time with the A's. Joe Ross and Tyson, both from Oakland, grew up not far from the Oakland Coliseum. McCaddy came up to Oakland in 1977, and he was with them through 1995. For McCaddy, 7th year as the Washington pitching coach. So Joe Ross trying to square things around here in the 4th inning. Ethier gets a triple. First, the ball was slightly misjudged by Moore, Michael Taylor in center. And then not a very aggressive tag by Escobar at third. And Ethier, who should have been thrown out, instead got a triple. And then Puig hits a high slider, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. We were talking earlier, you miss seeing the infield take infield, the outfield throw to the bases, catchers handle high foul balls all before the game. And what they miss in spring training is the sliding pit, not only to learn how to slide, but to learn how to tag. Because what they would do is they'd have a sawdust-filled sliding pit with a bag. You'd have the runner sliding, and then you had an infielder practicing tag, straddling the bag. Oh, 0-2. Jock Peterson has stolen 3, but he's been caught 6 times. And Ross does a very good job on the trunning game. Desmond, nice play to second base. So Ian Desmond, off balance, still had plenty on the throw to Rendon. And you had Peterson running, good speed there. So there's the throw, and they get the force. Zach Greinke, pretty good hitting pitcher. He's done it all. Cy Young winner, Gold Glove, Silver Bat, joining Fernando Valenzuela and Oral Hershiser. Multi-talented pitchers. One and one. Dodgers 2 runs, 3 hits. Washington no runs, 4 hits. Fouled away. 1-2. Greinke bunts well. He has 5 sacrifices. And of course, Andre Ethier, the big play, hitting it over the head of Michael Taylor, beating the play at third. And the Dodgers then had Puig homer to lead 2-0. Little ground ball. Desmond in a hurry. Nice pick at first base by Ryan Zimmerman. So the Dodgers get a triple and a home run. And at the end of 4, we take a long look as Puig hits that slider and buries it into the pavilion to give the Dodgers a 2-0 lead. One of the first 40,000 fans in attendance, and you'll receive a spray bottle with fan presented by Farmer John. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Boy, that'll come in handy. And so did Andre Ethier and Yasiel Puig. Ethier getting the triple, and then Puig hitting the home run. So it's 2-0 favor of the Dodgers. Fifth inning, and Joe Ross, the young pitcher, will lead it off against Zach Greinke. Ross struck out in the third inning, 0 for 1. Ball one. Puig very shallow in right field. Peterson kind of wandering around a little bit, slightly off the line in right center. In there. 1-1. Greinke's earned run average against Washington coming in 1.6. Against San Diego, it's 1.61. Check. They're going to look. No swing. San Diego, Washington, Seattle, and San Francisco. Remember, Zach is 6-0 against the Giants. Escobar far from the on-deck circle and almost got hit by that foul ball. They put the circle away from home plate, but the hitters like to cheat. They don't have to stay in the on-deck circle. So what Escobar is doing, he is practicing trying to hit off Greinke's delivery. And he is far away, as you can see, from the so-called on-deck circle. 2-2. Giants lead the Astros 1-0 in the fifth inning. Giants 2.5 behind the Dodgers. Meanwhile, the Astros began the night one game in front of the Angels. Two and two. So Ross goes down again. 4 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. And the batter will be Yunel Escobar, who flied to right, single to short. Escobar, who stowed away on a 25-foot boat, 30 people, 5 other ball players, and escaped from Cuba. Ran out of supplies because it took over 2 days. So all the rations went to the kids before anyone else. Ball one. The 25-foot boat was eventually found along the Florida shoreline. He took residency in Miami, and he was subject to the draft, and the Braves picked him up 2005. Oh, 1 ball, 1 strike. Escobar 32. He'll be 33 in November. And a line drive, base hit. Great all-out effort by Jimmy Rollins. So Escobar is 2 for 3. And the batter will be Anthony Rendon.
Second baseman Anthony Rendon.
Watch Rollins. Gives it his best shot. It's the kind of a play the pitchers really appreciate. He has had a 1 in a million chance, but that never entered Rollins' mind. So here is Rendon. Fly to right, fly to center. Ball 1. Last year, Rendon was brilliant. He got the Silver Slugger Award for third baseman. He was on the DL, and he's hit safely in 10 of his last 15. And he's in a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Rendon is from Richmond, Texas. 25 years old, out of Rice University, was a first-round pick. His parents always said he started hitting rocks and pine cones when he was about 3, and he's never stopped. 1-2. Rendon last year had 21 home runs, 83 runs batted in, hit .287, stole 17 bases. Meanwhile, Escobar at first with 1 out. Escobar does not do much running. He has 1 stolen base. One of the things Washington does not do is steal bases. They're about 48% below the average in the National League. 2-2. They're not an aggressive base running team either. They hit into a lot of double plays. They take called third strikes. So Matt Williams has aggressive hitters, but non-aggressive base runners, and as we saw, not a very aggressive defensive attempted tag. Line drive at Callaspo. So Rendon drills one, and Callaspo for the second time is there for Zach Greinke. So Rendon, line drive out. Ryan Zimmerman coming up. He is grounded out and singled. Slow breaking ball, ball 1. For Greinke, facing a power hitter like Zimmerman, he has allowed 8 home runs. Ball 2. Two runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 5 hits for Washington. That finds the mark. Two and 1. Two and 2. Ryan Zimmerman with Clint Robinson, the only left-hand batter in the lineup, playing for the injured Bryce Harper. Whether Harper can play tomorrow night remains to be seen. That will be Jordan Zimmerman and Clayton Kershaw. An aggressive hitter, and they need an aggressive hitter in the lineup. Among other things, Washington takes a lot of third strikes. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2-0 Dodgers. Top of the 5th. There you go. 5 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. No runs, 1 hit. Line drive caught by Callaspo helped. And at the end of 4.5, still 2-0 Dodgers. to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Now at Toyota's annual clearance event, get amazing deals on every new Toyota. Bottom of the fifth inning, 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Joe Ross getting ready to pitch to Jimmy Rollins, Alberto Callaspo, and Adrian Gonzalez. Off to another game for the moment. Anthony Rizzo was hit by another pitch tonight. The Cubs beat Milwaukee. Rizzo, big left-hand hitting first baseman, has now been hit 23 times, most in the majors. That's not anywhere close to a record. It's a record he doesn't want anyway. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball and a good one at 93. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dodgers try to improve their numbers against teams that are better than 500. They've fallen quite a ways behind. Against teams better than 500, the Dodger record 16 wins, 28 losses. But as Don Mattingly says, I don't care where the opposition is above and beyond 500. The idea is to beat somebody to get into the postseason. Ground ball hits the bag. Deflected, but no feed by Anthony Rendon. So Rollins gets himself a single. If the ball doesn't hit the bag, it looks like where Zimmerman is, he might not have been able to make the play anyway. So it winds up a single where it could have been down the line for a double. So Jimmy 1 for 3. Callaspo has popped up, single left, 1 for 2. Rollins has stolen 9 bases. Ross, I believe, without having the numbers handy, I believe there's only been 1 stolen base against Joe Ross since he broke in June. 1. One of the big things he has learned by watching his big brother struggle. Tyson Ross is pretty easy to steal. Joe Ross just 1 stolen base. So he'll be tested perhaps by Rollins. Callaspo's 1 for 2, single left. 1 ball and no strikes. So you have a rabbit like Rollins, admittedly older and wiser. If you don't run him, you keep Zimmerman on the bag. Rendon is way over to his right. So the right side of the infield is open, but you don't know if Callaspo pulls. And there's the answer. A base hit. Going down to second is Rollins. Ian Desmond trying actually to pull the hidden ball trick on Rollins. Jimmy didn't go for it, but he lost sight for a minute of the ball. Then he got to second base barely ahead of the throw. And then Desmond asked for the ball and tried to get Rollins walking off the bag, and Jimmy said, no way. I've been around too long to try that on me. So first and second, nobody out. Gonzalez, Ethier, and Grandal. 2-0 Dodgers. Foul ball. Remember, with Adrian Gonzalez, whatever pitch he got was up, and then he got one slider after another and struck out. Two on, nobody out, fifth inning. 0-2. Good changeup with the same arm speed of the fastball. The answer Brian Hagan provides: there's one stolen base against Ross and one caught stealing. They do run wild on his brother. 0-2. Pickoff play. Slap tag. Desmond losing the ball. There's the slap and there's the ball. Oh and 2 to Adrian Gonzalez. Fly to center and struck out. Ball 1. Washington will have Robinson, Worth, and Desmond when they come up in the 6th inning. And the Dodgers would like to add a couple before they see the big Washington hitters in the 6th. 2-2. 81 pitches made by Joe Ross. Zach Greinke in 5 innings has made 86 pitches. He's had 2 innings where he made 22 pitches each inning. Bill Greinke has used a lot of bullets through 5. Fly ball to center. Taylor is there. Tagging is Rollins, and no move. Good arm. Threw in the air. As we mentioned earlier, a big play. Taylor made a great throw to Yaniel Escobar at third. Rollins kidding, gesturing to Taylor, I'm not going to run on you, I see you. An aggressive tag by Escobar. Ethier would not have had a triple. All right, Rollins taking his lead. Blake Trinan, a right-hander, gets up in the Washington bullpen. 1 out, 2 on. Ethier walked and then got the triple on the poor tag. High fly ball playable. Worth is there. Rollins bluffs but holds. Two down.
Catcher
Yasmani Grandal has walked and flied to center. Two runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 5 hits for Washington. Ball 1. This the 5th meeting between the two teams. 2-2. The 2 Dodger victories. Greinke and Kershaw. The 2 victories last year for the Dodgers. Kershaw both times against Washington. To Yasmani Grandal. Three and 0. Well, he's walked 3 so far. He walked 4 in his other starts collectively. They might let Grandal swing 3-0. Let's see. No, that was too high anyway. So the Dodgers now have the bases loaded. And the batter, Yasiel Puig. Puig hit what looked like a slider about 84 miles an hour in the 4th inning. Take a look. Yasiel hits one of those no doubt about home runs into the pavilion in left center. Scoring Ethier ahead of him. Steve McCatty once again going out to the mound. Young Joe all ears listening to McCatty. Because he was growing up in Oakland playing outside the Coliseum when McCatty was pitching. So it's almost like a father talking to him. So Puig hit the slider. Let's see what he gets this time. Bases loaded, 2 out. Puig has 1 grand slam in his career, if you're thinking about that. 2 years ago, he hit it against Atlanta. And no off-speed slider. Starts him 94-mile-an-hour fastball. On 1. And another fastball. Slice fly ball off the glove of the diving Robinson. 1 run scores. 2 runs score. Here comes the 3rd run to score on a double by Yasiel Puig. And he has 5 RBIs tonight. Dodgers were fortunate. Remember, they had 1 or 2 drop in front of Harper. Now, Robinson trying to backhand the ball. Now he's completely committed. And then no chance except for all 3 Dodgers to score. And Puig gets applause from the hitting coach. 5-0 Dodgers, and that will do it for young Joe Ross. Matt Williams going out. If Harper was well enough, he probably would have caught the ball. Puig is glad that he didn't. Blake Trinan will be coming in relief, and we'll be back. I think a little bit better right fielder, not Clint Robinson, would have caught the ball hit by Puig. However, Robinson couldn't do it, and the Dodgers get a huge break. So Blake Trinan, a Kansas boy, went to South Dakota State and was a 7th-round pick signed by Oakland. Blake Trinan with Puig at third. Puig gesturing with his fingers. 5 RBIs and gesturing right back to him. Jimmy Rollins. Clint Robinson in right field had been a Dodger for a little while, 9 games. Robinson basically a first baseman, and he's a big man. He's 6'5", 225 pounds. He's 30 years old. At first base, okay, but he's only in right field because Harper hurt himself on a similar play, a blooper last night off the bat of Peraza. And a drive to right, going foul. Oh, 2 the count. Todd Frazier, remember, beat Peterson in the home run derby, 15 home runs to 14. And Frazier and the Reds will be here starting on the 13th. Sandy Koufax bobblehead night. Oh, 2. So long, loud foul, and then a strikeout. However, the big play, the inability of Robinson, and of course that triple will look like that line drive you've heard about in the box score. And it is 5-0 Dodgers. Dodgers playing the Boston Braves, a doubleheader at Ebbets Field. Dodgers won the first game 8-1. Duke Snider hit a home run against Warren Spahn, and Ralph Branca beat Spahn for the winning pitcher award in Game 1. Why is it important? Let's go back to this one. It's important because, believe it or not, that was the first baseball game televised in color. August the 11th, 1951. Robinson, unable to handle that little fly ball, has singled to left and flied to left. You could misinterpret it, but it was a pretty good guess. As Joe Ross walked off the field, it looked like he was looking out towards Robinson. Maybe he was looking at the bullpen gate, but it just looked like Joe was looking out as if to say, why could you not have caught that fly ball? 2-1. and hit foul down the line. 2-2. Robinson, at one time in his career, was working for his father as a baseball player. He was going to take a job with a communications company, but he wouldn't be able to work out nearly as much, and his dad said, no, I'll put you on a salary and you work out to become a baseball player. And Clint finally paid his father back when he made that regular role in the big leagues with the Nationals last year. As for his father, he thinks it was the best investment he ever made. 3-2. Line drive, base hit. So Robinson 2 for 3 with the bat, 0 for 1 with the glove, and the batter will be Jason Worth.
Jason Worth.
No runs, 6 hits for Washington. For the Dodgers, and let's face it, it's a major concern. Greinke has made 93 pitches. We're in the 6th inning, and down in the Dodger dugout, let's face it, Mattingly and Honeycutt are thinking about the bullpen. High pop fly. Gonzalez, here comes Kike behind him. Adrian. So Worth 0 for 3.
Shortstop.
Now the batter, Ian Desmond. Desmond, who was 0 for 13 against Greinke, singled in the 2nd inning and struck out in the 4th. Five nothing Dodgers. We're in the 6th inning. Going back through the books, looking at Greinke's pitch total, made 111 in 6 innings against Philadelphia last time out. Made 119 against Washington in the 19th of July. So for Honeycutt, watching him now as he approaches 100 pitches. 0-2. 1-2. Desmond has 14 home runs, 40 runs batted in. Wilson Ramos hitting behind him. Greinke ready to make his 98th pitch. Just off the plate. 2-2. Brandon Belt just hit his 2nd home run against Scott Kazmir. Now 3-0 Giants over Houston, 7th inning. And missed with the fastball. Ramos waiting on deck. Coming into the game 2 for 7 against Greinke. 0 for 1 with a walk today, and that's fouled away. That got a little bit, I think, at C.B. Buckner, maybe more than a little bit. Off the glove, hits that right shoulder. There's no way to hide out there. So the Dodgers do the nice thing. All clubs will do it. Grandal going out to talk to Greinke, and they're really giving C.B. Buckner a chance to get over that foul ball. Well, look who's here. Justin Turner, who might very well be ready to play in another day or so. Been on the DL with the infected leg. Has been over in Arizona taking batting practice and everything else. Though he's close to coming back. All right, 3-2 with one out. And it's lifted to right field to Puig. So Desmond a fly ball. Wilson Ramos struck out and walked coming up.
Catcher, Wilson Ramos.
Ramos 9 home runs, 49 runs batted in. And Hyun-Jin Ryu. Good to see him here. Of course, he's not going to be able to pitch. He's a guy who will certainly cheer up Yasiel Puig. 0-1. Ramos with Michael Taylor, the young center fielder, out on deck. Oh, and 2. Zach Greinke not allowing a run so far. In his last 12 starts at home, he's allowed only 14 runs. 0-2. Slow curveball. He hasn't thrown that a lot. Just off the plate. Tanner Roark begins to warm up, right-hander. There's Tanner. Another foul ball. Ramos has not had a good swing. Almost every pitch that he has fouled, he's fouled just off the very end of the bat. So he's struggling for the moment, but he's a big leaguer with some power. Doesn't make any difference about the previous pitches. 1-2. Tried to get him with a fastball, but got it way up. 2-2. So we're watching that pitch count. We're watching the bullpen. No swing. 3-2. Talking about the bullpen, it's a fact. You have to be aware of it. Since the All-Star break, the Dodger bullpen's earned run average is 6.6, almost 7 runs. So the boys are sitting back. We'll see if they get an opportunity as we watch the pitch count. Fastball. Ramos still having trouble trying to figure Greinke out. He was the fellow we told you about in Venezuela. Three balls, 2 strikes. One thing about Ramos way back with Minnesota, he went 4 for 5 in his major league debut. The next day he went 3 for 4. First big leaguer to have 7 hits in his first 2, and strike 3 called. So Greinke picks up his 6th strikeout. Ramos will head for the dugout, and we're heading for the bottom of the 6th. 5-0 Dodgers. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. 5-0 Dodgers. C-Bay Buckner was a 10-2. Stan Conti went out to make sure he was all right after taking that foul ball on the right shoulder. It's interesting that he has a Bachelor of Science degree in recreation therapy, and he finally needed a little therapy himself, and we're glad to see he's okay. Kike Hernandez starting it off, bottom of the 6th inning, ball 1. Hernandez hit into a force play twice, 0 for 2. And good breaking ball for a strike, 1-1. Well, Yimi Garcia gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Alex Guerrero comes out in the on-deck circle. And we're now getting into the more important part, the more interesting part, as the Dodger bullpen will again be challenged. 6 innings for Greinke, and he's coming out. So Greinke made 109 pitches, gave up 6 hits, struck out 6, and walked 1. Zach with a record of 11-2, hoping 5 runs will be enough. It'll get him to 11-2, now 12. However, 3 innings, that's a lot of baseball, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And Mattingly knows it for sure. So Yimi Garcia was caught up. They figure Mike Bolsinger, who's been a starting pitcher, is not ready to relieve, and they brought back Garcia. 3-2. When you get late into the bullpens and you're playing Washington, you have Drew Storen, who had been the closer. He's now the setup man. Jonathan Papelbon is now the closer for Washington. So Blake Trinan gives up the walk to Hernandez, And now Alex Guerrero had been in the on-deck circle. And they're going to go to Carl Crawford, who had the 3-run home run last night.
It's hitting for the Dodgers, number 3, Carl Crawford.
For those who weren't here or weren't watching, Crawford in the 9th. Drives one deep against Pfister. 8 or 10 rows at least into the pavilion. Wasn't nearly enough. Dodgers lost the game 8-3, but he had 3 RBIs. Ball 1. Big chopper to the hole. Desmond backhands, gets it to second for 1. No play at first. Force play. Nice play by Desmond to backhand the ball heading towards the hole.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
By the time he got over to get the ball, he was fortunate to get it as he had the double grip. That cost Rendon the runner. So 1 out, and Jimmy Rollins popped up, fouled out, and then singled. Ground ball that hit the bag, kangarooed over the head of Ryan Zimmerman. Ball 1. Blake Trinan out of Kansas, originally signed by the A's. Rollins checking with Lorenzo Bundy. Interesting story about Blake Trinan. He walked into the baseball office at the University of Arkansas, wanted to speak to the coach. Secretary said he's not in today. He's out recruiting. Little soft line drive to Desmond, got plenty of time to double up his man Crawford at first base. So that's it. We'll tell you a little bit more about Blake Trinan, but we now have 6 innings in the books. 5-0 Dodgers. What's ahead? Well, one more with Washington tomorrow night. That'll be Jordan Zimmerman and Clayton Kershaw, and then 4 games with the Cincinnati Reds. It'll be a great homestand before the Dodgers go back out on the road to Oakland, Houston, and Cincinnati. Yimi Garcia sent back to Oklahoma City and has now returned once again to try and bolster up the bullpen. Garcia will start off with Michael Taylor to lead it off.
Michael Taylor.
Taylor has lined out. That's when Cayaspo made the great play to prevent the run. Last time up, hit into a force play. Tyler Moore will hit for Trinan. So maybe we can tell you about Trinan since we're not going to see him again. Trinan was from Kansas, went to the baseball office at the University of Arkansas, wanted to speak with the coach. He's not in today, the secretary said. He's out recruiting. Well, Trinan said, I've come this far. Can I talk to the assistant coach? She said, he won't be here for a while. So Trinan said, well, I'll sit and wait. And a few minutes after he took the seat, waiting to meet the assistant coach, who walked in but the head coach. The head coach walked by the seated Trinan, went into the office, and he said, wasn't that him? Secretary said, no, that wasn't him. Well, Trinan knew it was, so he stayed. A few minutes passed. An assistant emerged, and the assistant knew all about this guy from Kansas. Throws 79-mile-an-hour fastballs for a small-town team. And Blake Trinan said, well, can I have a tryout? And the assistant coach said, if we let you try out, we'd have to let the whole state of Arkansas try out. And years passed, having been rebuffed by the University of Arkansas. And in 2014, Blake Trinan, dismissed in the baseball office at the university, is a big leaguer with the Nationals. One away, here's Tyler Moore. Little slider, missing, 1 ball, no strikes. Tyler Moore, basically a power hitter, but paying the price. 4 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Fastball, pop foul. Here comes Rendon, but no play. 1 ball, 1 strike. For Greinke, he followed his own routine. When he has 4 days rest, he is 6-1 and an earned run average of less than 1. Popped up. Kike. Two out, 7th inning, 5-0 Dodgers. And the leadoff man, Yuniel Escobar, coming up. Escobar, when you look at him, you realize he has a lot of ability, that's for sure. But you always wonder, what is it that the teams see about him? He was a 2nd-round pick by the Braves, and they sent him to Toronto. He was with the Toronto Blue Jays for 3 years, and they sent him to the Rays. Tampa Bay had him for 2 years, and they send him to the Nationals. So anyone who has spent a career in the game, you look at a player with his abilities and the fact that he's been with 4 teams, and you wonder. 6'2", 215 pounds. He'll be 33 in November. From Havana. Escobar hitting .312. 7 home runs, 34 RBIs. He hurt himself a little bit on that swing. and he is not ready to get back in. He's still not ready. And another foul ball. Escobar, just to give you another note about his ability, he's the first player in Washington history, that's from 2005, with 3 5-hit games. And remember, the original Washington Nationals, they played back in the 80s, 1880s. They eventually became the Washington Senators. That team moved to Minnesota. Another Washington Senators team eventually moved to Texas. The Washington National teams of today came by way of Montreal. High fly ball, a trio of Dodgers. Puig is the one. So one Cuban hits the ball to another. Down go the Nationals, and it's 5-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 7th. Felipe Rivera takes over. Dodgers lead 5-0. Bottom of the 7th inning. Rivera, a left-hander all the way. He's from Venezuela, originally signed by the Rays. He would be just 24 earlier this month. Never did make it with the Rays, but he finally makes it to the Nationals. They say he throws very hard. Good curveball and a changeup, but the fastball is his pitch, and Callaspo will probably take a look at it. Ball 1 at 95. He's 6'2", 195. There's a good fastball at 96. They think maybe he would develop into a middle of the rotation starting pitcher. Gio Gonzalez talking pitching. 1-1. Now 2-1. Max Scherzer listening. It could go easily the other way. Two balls, one strike. Alberto Callaspo has 2 base hits, but he also made a couple of nice plays defensively at third base to help out Greinke. High fly ball, late start by Worth. Took him a split second to pick up the ball. So Callaspo a fly ball, 1 down.
First baseman, number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez fly to center, struck out, fly to center again. Adrian at .296 with 22 home runs, 68 RBIs. And fastball strike. In the 8th inning, Rendon, Zimmerman, and Robinson. Big slow curveball. And although Harper has a sore knee, you don't imagine that would prevent him from pinch hitting. 1-1. Another slow breaking ball. 1-2. Felipe Rivero from San Felipe in Venezuela. Shows him the fastball, and true to the stats, he hits 97. Two and two. Well, when they talk about Rivera, all they really talk about is the fastball. Mentioned the curveball in passing and his changeup, but it's the fastball that has gotten everybody's eye. He's hit 97 twice tonight. Yep, there's 97 again. So you strike out Gonzalez for the 2nd time tonight, and the batter now will be Andre Ethier.
The fielder, number 16, Andre Ethier.
Andre Ethier walked, then hit a ball over the head of Michael Taylor, who got a bad jump, misjudged, started to come in, turned, went over his head, it hit the wall, bounced back away from Taylor, who has a great arm. Ethier went to third, and Taylor's throw had him dead to rights. It was not exactly an aggressive tag by Yuniel Escobar. Here it is, Escobar way behind the bag and could not make the tag. Escobar had the ball in plenty of time, so that gave the Dodger a runner, and with 1 out, Puig hit the home run. Then later, Puig's pop fly into right field with the bases loaded gave him 3 more RBIs. So tonight, it's the Dodgers and Puig 5, and Washington without Harper, nothing. Yasiel, as happy as we've seen him in quite a while, coming up with 5. 0-2. RBIs to you and me, bread and butter to Puig, and that will do it for Andre Ethier. And for Felipe Rivera, a 1-2-3 inning. At the end of 7, 5-0 Dodgers. We have to put the magnifying glass on Joe Ross. 4 2/3 innings, 6 hits and 5 earned runs. But wait a minute. Let's take a look. First of all, you had the bad tag at third base that gave Ethier a triple. That led to Puig's home run. So instead of a 2-run inning, it should have been 1-0. And then, with the bases loaded, the fly ball that drops into right field for a bases clearing triple. Though Ross was not exactly pushed around, but Puig still has 5 RBIs in the box score. Greinke, meanwhile, 109 pitches, shut him down. And now Yimi Garcia had an 11-pitch 7th inning. By the way, in looking at Puig, his other 5 RBI game was the second career game here against San Diego. Dodgers won that game 9-7. Puig had 2 home runs that day, batting leadoff, and wouldn't you know, the second home run he hit in that game against Tyson Ross, Joe Ross's big brother. A strike, 0-1. Anthony Rendon flied to right, flied to center, hit a line drive snared by Callaspo. Callaspo's made 2 solid plays at third base. Big slider, 1-1. J.P. Howell in the Dodger bullpen. That's a strike. 1-2. Fastball missing at 96. 2-2. By the way, remember when Ethier struck out in the 7th inning? The third strike was a 99-mile-per-hour fastball from Felipe Rivera. 99. 2-2. Pulled, base hit. Slider in, not enough break on it. Rendon comes up with his first hit.
First baseman, number 11.
Say, friends, you know you can follow the Dodgers all season. MLB.com at bat. That's the #1 app. It's up to the moment, at any moment. In-game highlights, replay, reviews, look-ins, radio broadcasts. So get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Ryan Zimmerman grounded out, single to left, struck out. He's had 1 RBI in 8 straight games. And ball 1. I think Garcia took the wise way. Instead of arguing about that, he just kind of smiled. 1 ball and no strikes. Giants lead the Astros 3-1 in the 8th inning. Another slider for a strike, 1-1. Paid attendance tonight, 49,384. 49,384. And yet another slider. 1-2. Gimme from the Dominican. He's got a birthday coming up. Garcia will be 25 on the 18th, so next week. Meanwhile, Juan Nicasio now joins Howell. So after all those sliders, fastball puts him away. 1 down in the 8th inning. In San Francisco, the 9th inning has just started, and it's 3-1 favor the Giants. Dodgers check the pen about Nicasio and Howell. Robinson has hit the ball hard 3 times. He's 2 for 3. He could not handle the fly ball hit by Puig in the 5th inning. 3 runs scored. If he catches that fly ball, the inning's over, and the Dodgers come up empty. 1-1. So 2 plays have really changed the game. The poor tag by Escobar at third, and then Robinson's inability to cover any ground. 1-1. Fastball and 96. Two and two. Fastball fading over to his right. Refield holding on at first is Rendon, and the batter will be Jason Worth. Jason Worth hit into a force play, grounded to third, and fouled out to first. Worth last night struck out twice, had a double, wound up going 1 for 5. So he is 1 for 8 in the 2 games. $5-0 Dodgers on 6 hits. Slider. 1-1. Washington no runs, 7 hits. Thoroughly shut down by Zach Greinke. They have not had a runner get to third. Another slider. 2-1. just drifting off the plate, very close. That's twice. Jimmy, instead of arguing with it, CB Buckner just kind of grins a little. 2-1. Fastball. He just went right under it. The ball just started to come up. Fastball, and Worth lead on it. Final score, the Giants beat the Astros 3-1. Bumgarner not only pitched a complete game, he struck out 12 and did not walk anybody. Madison Bumgarner in complete control. So the Giants snap a 4-game losing streak. Dodgers are trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. And for Worth, a towering fly ball, and Jock Peterson at the other end of it. No runs, 1 hit. Nice 2 innings for Yimi Garcia. And as he walks off, and we head for the bottom of the 8th, 5-0 Dodgers.
Photo of the game. Tweet your photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile.
Bottom of the 8th inning, it's 5-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Tanner Roark out of Joliet, Illinois, and the University of Illinois. Roark, 6'2", 220. He'll be 29 years old in October. Originally signed by Texas in 2008. Roark, quite an athlete. He led his high school team to 2 state championships. He was MVP in both of them. He was on the football team and led the team as a quarterback. Fly ball to left. Worth still has a little room and makes the catch. Well, certainly the player of the game figured to be Yasiel Puig. First of all, Puig came up and hit the home run into the left center field pavilion. That made it 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. And then the fly ball to right field. Robinson just couldn't get over there, tried to backhand it. By the time he got the ball, 3 runs scored. 5 RBI game for Yasiel Puig. So a home run, a triple, that perks him up a little bit. He was hitting .241 when the game started. Now hitting .247. One ball and 1 strike.
Roark in relief right now. Last year, as a starting pitcher, he won 15 games for the Nationals. He was 15-10. Nice, easy delivery and a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Two balls, two strikes. And a little flare into right field. Nice running catch by Anthony Rendon.
Center fielder number 31, Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson fouled out, walked, and struck out. The last hit for the Dodgers was that fly ball triple by Puig in the 5th inning. We're now in the 8th. Ball 1. So the Washington bullpen, Trinan, Rivero, and now Roark. Meanwhile, the Dodger bullpen tonight, Yimi Garcia, 2 innings, allowed 1 hit, struck out 1. Faced 7 men, allowed 1 to get on base. So very encouraging. Now you can see Luis Avilan begin to warm up. Of course, for Don Mattingly, not much he can do. Use them, believe in them, and never quit on them. Three and one to count. Well, John could use a boost of confidence, so it'd be no surprise if they let him swing 3-1. Well, way inside for ball 4. So that'll bring up Kike Hernandez. Twice he hit into force plays, and the last time up he walked. And ball 1. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 7 hits for Washington. One and one. Tomorrow night, final game between these two. Jordan Zimmerman and Clayton Kershaw. Zimmerman coming in with a record of 8-7 at the strike. Kershaw will take a 9-6 record to the mound tomorrow night. Fastball hit back to the box, and that'll be that. No runs, no hits, a man left. We are heading to the 9th inning with the Dodgers leading 5-0.
Brought to you by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter. And by Flex Alert. This summer, the power is in your hands. FlexAlert.org.
Ninth inning here at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers behind a brilliant performance by Zach Greinke, shutting down Washington 5-0. And then the bullpen. Jimmy Garcia pitched 2 strong innings, allowing 1 hit, struck out 1. Now Luis Avilan, the hard-throwing left-hander, will be coming in to face Desmond, Ramos, and Taylor. Avilan from Venezuela, from Caracas. Desmond 1 for 3, single, struck out, fly to right. 2 home runs last night, has 14. Avilan is 26 years old, signed by the Braves 2006. Right. Way out in front of a changeup. 0-2. Avilan made his debut back in 2012 against the New York Mets for Atlanta. Struck out the only batter he faced. Ground ball to third. Callaspo. One down. Wilson Ramos coming up.
Catcher number 40, Wilson Ramos.
Ramos struck out, walked, struck out again. All of those appearances against Greinke. Fastball, first ball. Wow. So just like that, you have 2 out in the 9th inning. Michael Taylor, the center fielder, robbed of a hit by Callaspo in the 2nd inning that would have given Washington a run. Next time up, hit into a force play. Taylor had 3 hits last night. Danny Espinosa, right-hand batter, out on deck. And ball 1. Avilan proved to be a savior in May, when fellow left-handers Eric O'Flaherty, Johnny Venters underwent Tommy John surgery, and he promptly began a streak of 28 scoreless appearances. Luis Avilan started this year with a record of 10-1 in the big leagues and an ERA of 2.5. Throws nice and easy over the top at 93. Bryce Harper kind of dozing, unable to play. 2-1. So the Dodgers certainly are looking to get a big lift from the bullpen tonight. Garcia gave the Dodgers strong 2 innings, and now Avilan is trying to shut him down in the 9th. Puig's bat gave them 5, and Greinke will win his 12th. Chopper on the line, foul ball, no play. No play. 49,384 out here tonight. If you can, hope you'll be with us tomorrow night. Clayton Kershaw and Jordan Zimmerman. Dodgers will go into that game having won 3 of 5. Last year, Washington won 4 of 6. The 2 Dodger victories were picked up by Kershaw. Tonight, they'll have Greinke and Kershaw picking up wins. And we will see about tomorrow. The Giants won, so the Dodgers are going to remain 2.5 in front. All right, 2-2. Everybody up. Got him. Wow. The Dodger bullpen. You heard me. The Dodger bullpen allowed 1 hit in 3 innings. And the Dodgers 5 runs, 6 hits. Zach Greinke wins his 12th. No runs, 7 hits. No errors for Washington. Young Joe Ross suffered a loss. He's now 3-4. Tomorrow night, Zimmerman and Kershaw. Hope you'll be out here with us. Till then, from all of us to all of you, good evening, everybody.